Well, how about we go ahead and get started? And like I said, Jada's recording, so people can, even though we only have a few people here, people will be able to come back and watch it later if they want. And I'm happy to talk about it anyway. So I'll just dive in, and I'll probably be a little bit more informal since it's just a few of us. But my name is Adam Ford, and I am, as you all know, on the Wellness Committee of the State Bar of Georgia, the Attorney Wellness Committee, and part of the group, the Wellness Connections subcommittee that puts on these monthly events where we get together and talk about just different things that can help our wellness. And the format is that we'll spend about half an hour, where I'm probably not even that. I'll spend about 20, 30 minutes today talking about a topic, and then we'll have some question answer and some discussion, and I might ask you all some questions and on the topic or anything else we want to talk about, and see where it goes from there. But like I said, my name is Adam Ford. I do business litigation and counseling, primarily in employment, but in all kinds of areas of business law up at a law firm called Baker Jenner. It's up at Cumberland at 75 and 285. But I'm also very interested in meditation and spirituality and wellness, particularly mental health wellness and physical wellness. And I've been really happy to be a part of the Wellness Committee under Javon's leadership. And today I want to talk to you guys about my journey with sound meditation and therapy. I first, I think, got in touch with the fact that sound impacts our mental wellness from not my own experience at church, but frankly, my African-American friends when I was younger, talking about their experiences at church. I grew up Episcopalian, and it's very, that music does not move you. But my friends would go to church on Sunday, and it was all about the music and the gospel music they would hear. And they just had a different energy about them when they would get back. And I remember thinking like, wow, like they're experiencing something I'm not through music. And in particular, my mom was a nurse, and one of her coworkers, Nettie, lived in a very small town in rural Arkansas where I grew up. And she would go to her church in the woods, and she would come back, and it was always all about the music that she would talk about. And I just remember thinking like, yeah, like I said, like, wow, there's something that she's experiencing that I'm not. And I was always a little shy growing up, but then I think when I first kind of made that connection for me was through dancing. I remember in college, the moment where I just decided to kind of like, well, let me back up and say, actually, as a kid, I would put on music and dance around my house by myself. And I just loved the energy it gave me. In the summers, a lot. When I was home by myself, I would put on Fantasia and all the classical music, and I would just run and dance around my house by myself. But I didn't really ever express that in public until I was like in college, and finally just decided I'm just going to let loose and dance and have fun. And I did. And was able to experience this different kind of energy through music that I could never experience through anything else. And I think a lot of people can probably relate to that. But when it came to sort of mental health, or just mental and consciousness and meditation, I took that step when I saw this movie called What the Bleep Do We Know? It's a movie back in 2004. And it's just talking about a lot of metaphysical issues. But one of the things they talked about was this Japanese artist named Masatsuro Emoto. And Emoto has carried out some very interesting experiences with water at the critical point for freezing. And he's done a lot of different experiments and art with this, but he'll take a picture of the water at a molecular, or like a, not molecular, but at a very close-up perspective as it's freezing. And one of the things he'll do is he'll put words on like a jar of water and see what happens, but that's a little more dubious. But one of the interesting things that he does is he'll play music and photograph it under a microscope as it's freezing. And so he'll see like the different results of how that happens. And so it's really interesting. So that like classical music produce these really well-shaped crystals, but heavy music or kind of more negative songs, the snowflakes, the crystals are kind of more misshapen. You can actually go to his website, and I will send that out. We'll send that out. Jada will send it out in the resources we send out after this. But there'll be a link, but you can see the photographs and the different songs that he played to the music. And you know, like one of them is one of Elvis's Heartbreak Hotel, which is kind of a sad, kind of rough song. And you'll see that the snowflake it freezes is kind of rough. But then these classical music, like some Beethoven pieces, some of John Lennon's more beautiful songs, as the water freezes, it forms these more intricate and beautiful patterns. So like what you're saying, well, what's the connection to wellness and humans? Well, they make this point in the movie, the What the Bleep Do We Know movie, and it was really a big aha moment for me, was the fact that our bodies are 98% water. And so if music can do that, you know, to water in a glass, you know, imagine what music is doing to us as these big old blobs of sacks of water walking around. And so I began to think about how music and sounds affected me. And I did that for a while. And later years, a few years later, I began to apply that to my meditation practice. And I first became introduced to that through actually Plowman, who's a member of our wellness committee, but he does breathwork workshops, and he'll often do them in connection with sound bath concerts, singing bowls. And so these sound singing bowls, you may have seen them. I'm sure if you've ever seen anything like with meditation, you'll recognize them, but frequently made of metal, where you ding them and they make a certain vibration that comes out. The difference with these bowls is that musically, these objects are classified as a type of bell, but the vibrations come out of the edges, whereas a gong, on the other hand, has the maximum vibration at the center. And so it's a different vibration that's coming out. They originated in China. They're very old, back in the Shang dynasty, which goes back like to at least the 16th to 11th century BCE. And then they gained really big popularity, started when Buddhism began to rise in the 2nd to 5th century CE. Singing bowls have been used in Buddhist traditions for hundreds of years now, and have gained popularity in Western world now in the past few decades. They're used to guide meditation or accompany yoga, but there are a lot of different beneficial uses of singing bowls. So I was actually going to play you guys my singing bowl tonight, but I left it upstairs in my apartment. So I'm going to see real quick if I can pull up a YouTube video and then share it with you guys. So here's what the bowls will look like. They're traditionally made of metal, but you'll see these are made of actually crushed synthetic crystal. That's actually the one I have is made from. And you'll see that she is going to go and just rub the edge of the bowl, and it makes out a very specific tone. So it's definitely an odd sound. I took my mom to one of these, to one of the breath work and sound bath concerts, and she's like, I did not like that. She's like, I didn't know what that was. That was just, it felt very irritating to me. But in the Buddhist tradition, each of those tones represent a different note, and each note connects to what Buddhists and Hindus call a chakra. I'm not going to get into chakras today, but if you're interested in it, you can connect these sounds to different energies in your body and different intentions you may have and want to develop. But for me, I like the sound. I'm an intuitive person. I don't always know why I like something or why I think a certain way. I connect to it, and that's kind of how I was with the sound bowls. But reading into it and looking into it, there is actually some good scientific support for the benefit that these bowls can do. We'll send some research out with some links in our post-discussion resources. But one study I looked at specifically said that these Tibetan singing bowls during meditation had participants who reported significantly less tension, less anger, less fatigue, and less depression overall. This was statistically significant. And they actually helped, the people who were helped the most were the people who were naive or a little skeptical about it and then tried it. So if you've never done it before, it can really help you the most. And it's they call it in this study a feasible, low-cost, low-technology intervention for reducing feelings of tension, anxiety, and depression, and increasing spiritual well-being. And they note that this meditation may be especially useful in decreasing tension in individuals who have not previously practiced this form of meditation. So there's a great YouTube resource online. It's just called the 11-minute tune-up, where they go through the different tones of the Tibetan bowls and that go through all of your chakras. And it's just a quick little, as you want to get started on your day or just need to take a break. I do that a lot. I was looking at it the other day, and it's had over 7 million views on YouTube, which is a lot for something that is that simple, if you're interested in more about this, like I said, we'll be sending out links and some resources. We'll be sure to include that 11-minute tune-up and just some other peer-reviewed research on the benefits of that. So the next thing I want to talk to you about in my journey with sound and meditation are binaural beats. I got interested in binaural beats when I was looking for music online to go to sleep to, and just started exploring and I found these things, and I was like, what's this? And what binaural beats are, they're a little weird and it's a little technical. So give me a second as I try to break it down and explain it. But the theory is based on the idea that brain EEGs show waves vary depending on the type of mental state that we're in. So we have to acknowledge that this is a very simplistic view. The brain is very complicated. And a lot of what is actually happening is that different areas of the brain are emitting different frequencies of brain waves. And it's a big relationship. So all this is very simplistic, but again, talking about the theory, and then we'll get into some of the benefits. But what the idea is that you have, if you're in a certain mood, your brain is going to emit a certain brain wave length. So if you're sleeping, it's going to be a delta wave, which is a little bit lower wave. If you're focusing, if you're concentrating, it's going to be a beta wave. And if you're meditating, it's going to be a theta wave. And I'll go over these in a second, but the idea is that we can use sound to induce our brain to trigger these brain waves. If we use sounds at those wavelengths, then we can then get our brain to be on that same wavelength. Again, going back to the idea that our brain is a lot of water, right? So maybe we can get if we get the sound in there, maybe we can get an electric current that mimics it. This was developed actually by a team led by Robert Monroe, who was actually studying out-of-body experiences with a group, trying to do it scientifically, and they were trying to induce specific states of consciousness. And they were aware of these brain waves, and they had the theory that maybe we can try to induce them, but they were like, how do we do it? It's not just, they didn't think it was as simple as just emitting that sound towards the person, but actually other researchers shown differently. But what they tried to do, which was a little bit different, was they said, look, let's put one sound in one ear at one frequency, and a different sound in a different ear at another frequency, because we know that when they do that, they are going to cross in the brain, because your right ear is going to be processed by your left brain, and your left ear is going to be processed by your right brain. And so they're going to kind of meet in the middle, and it's going to kind of average out to the wavelength that you desire. It's what's called an intraoral time difference. And it's the way our brain is able to tell the direction of a sound. So, you can hear, a car is coming from the left because your left ear is hearing it at one wavelength and your right ear is hearing it at a little bit different wavelength. And so it knows it's coming from the left. So the idea is like, well, let's take advantage of that. The paths are going to cross over, and then we'll get the intermediate frequency that we desire. I listened to this guy named Andrew Huberman. He's a neurobiologist and ophthalmologist professor at Stanford University. He has a great podcast called the Huberman Lab that talks about the ways that neurobiology and science behind biology can help our lives and just help our mental well-being. And he has a great he has a couple of great podcasts on Binaural Beats, but he explains the breakdown of the different frequencies like this. So there's the delta wave, and these are big, slow waves, is in the delta. It's a low frequency. And according to Huberman, there's quality evidence that the delta wave, which is from 1 to 4 hertz, can help you in the transition to sleep. And like I mentioned earlier, that's what got me into these binaural beats to begin with, was I was looking for a way to go to sleep. And I got a lot of success out of listening to these delta binaural beats. The next level up is going to be theta rhythms, and those are 4 to 8 gigahertz, 4 to 8 hertz. And these are really good for very light sleep or meditation to put you in a good relaxed state. Then the next level up is going to be beta, and that's 15 to 20 hertz. It's supposed to help you with focus states for sustained thoughts. And then gamma is going to be the highest, and that's 32 to 100 hertz. And it's really good to help you with learning and problem solving. The thing about these beats is that you do have to have them with headphones on. You can't just listen to them like from your computer. You have to have a beat in one ear and then a different beat in another ear. So I've gotten a lot of benefit from them. I actually use them a lot. Admittedly, as Huberman acknowledges, some of us just do better functioning like with some background noise in the back, like a little bit of white noise or something. But I've tried that, and I get a different effect from this. For me, I get benefit of it. Like when I need to focus, those tones really help me focus. And there's some great apps for this. We'll send those out with the resources. I use an app called Brainwave, and people at work are used to seeing me with headphones on and know what I'm doing. They're doing his crazy sound stuff. But I particularly do it in the morning for about 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes a little longer, just to kind of get me in the zone and help me focus. And also will do it at night to help me wind down and go to sleep. Now, the science about this is all over the place. And I spent a lot of time this weekend reviewing it and going over it and looking at surveys and actually looking at actual research studies on PubMed. And my takeaway from it is that the research is all over the place, but I think it's more attributed to the fact that the brain is just really complicated and we can't just pin it down and say, we can do this simple thing and it's going to have this effect. But there's some research showing that that these binaural beats have not had much of an effect. But there's also some solid evidence that it does. The studies that have been most successful are the ones that use the beats for a sustained time, at least 30 minutes. Particularly before or during an activity. You can't just get in there for like 4 minutes and all of a sudden you're going to be focused or whatever. It's not a magic wand. Your neurological system takes a little bit of time to respond to anything. And that includes these beats. There's some evidence that particularly the higher levels, in the high beta, low theta range, in that 32, 40, low 40 hertz range, particularly helpful. But the best study I found was it was from a few years ago, it's from 2015, but it was a survey of like all the research on binaural beats. And they're like, we're just basically trying to figure out what's going on with it. But they did find that there were several studies that consistently reported a diminishing impact of stimulation on anxiety levels and can help you focus. They call for more research on the modalities and the actual physical mechanisms in the brain to help us figure out how it works. So what do we need to do to actually trigger this and what's actually happening when it is triggered? So we don't really know. But like I said, it works for me. And you can just Google it. There's some good YouTube videos and there are a lot of good apps. And we'll be sure to include those in the resources that we send out. So this has just been kind of the things that I like about sound, and we just kind of want to present that out to you. There are so many things about the way sound and especially music can help us. A friend of mine he did a 2-year fellowship just on sound healing. And so I actually was at his house a couple of weeks ago where he led an outdoor meditation with his, he has a meditation maze built in the backyard, and he played music. And I talked to him for a while, and the stuff he knows would, feel like a 2-hour conversation. But, he was bringing out like tuning forks and things, and he will put them on different joints and things. You can kind of feel different frequencies of sound will make your body feel different ways. And he actually also recommended looking in humming, which I started doing on my own meditation. It's like exhale, just making sounds that make me feel happy, resonate in my body and that made me feel good. But yeah, I think there's just there's a lot here. And I think, again, goes back to this idea that our bodies are mostly made of water. And water is a really weird substance in general, has a lot of peculiar properties, but one of them is the way they react to vibrations and sound. And I think it's something that we can pay attention to and help us in our journeys. But yeah, I want to hear from you guys. Have you guys ever had good experiences with sound or music, or what's helped you out in what gets you going, what gets you the positive juices flowing?
Well, I'll go first. I have done I guess they call it a sound bath.
Mm-hmm.
Before. I've done it a couple of times. I think I haven't done it since we had the place where we stayed when we did our first wellness retreat. Had that as an option to choose. And so that was the last place I did it. And to me, it's relaxing. I'm not on a regular basis a music person. You have some people that are music people and some people are TV people. I'm a TV person, but I do have to have that noise in the background. I think, but when you talked about the church experience, it is a lot to be said for the combination of the music can actually get to you and regenerate you in a way that the word can't.
And the singing too.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know that we're clear on the power of music, and so the power of sound. I hadn't thought about it in the terms of our bodies being mostly water and how that would lead to why it has such an effect on you. So that's really good information to think about. I hadn't really the tone thing. That would be interesting to try.
Yeah, I talked a little bit about it with our last one we did on meditation. And I don't want to get too much into chakras because I don't know enough about it. But we do. The theory is, and the idea, ancient Vedic Hindu stuff says, we have these chakras and they're different centers of energy and centers of consciousness within our body. Like our heart, your heartbreak, your courage from your heart, your throat where you speak truth, you get a lump in your throat, you trust your gut, your gut, our gut that tells us to do different things, we say these phrases with everyone understanding what they mean, but we don't really talk about it, but those are the chakras. And the idea with the Vedics and the Hindus is that, our consciousness comes from the relationship between these different centers of consciousness within our body. And so if you're having a day where you are, really worried, you might do do a meditation listening to the chakras that are around your stomach, or if you are feeling shy or need to feel courageous, you might listen to the tones that address the heart chakra. Or if you're going to be speaking, you might do the tones that affect your throat, because that's where your throat chakra is. That's where your truth comes from. But, So I couldn't find any science on that aspect of sound. I know that I cited that study that talked about just meditation bowls in general, helping a benefit. But as far as like, eliciting a specific response, I don't know, but that's just kind of my idea and theory on it. And that's what I do when I'm, my heart gets broken a lot. So I listen to, so I have my bowl that I have is the heart chakra bowl. And it's another good way, another great thing about the bowl is that if you're having a tough time getting into meditation or having a tough time focusing, that action of working the bowl, like that woman was in that video, is just a good thing to focus on. It's something, it's physical, it's like sometimes walking can be help you meditate and you focus on the steps as opposed to something is your breath. You need something a little bit extra. That's why I like it, because I have horrible ADHD. So like having that bowl helps me focus during my meditation. But yeah, the thing about going back to the church music, for me, the reason interested me because the church and the music in my church was so boring, so horrible. And like I said, like my friends' churches, like they were doing something different, and it was like it was affecting them in a different way. And so I thought it's something in a different. It's not, you can't just play any old music. You've got to have that music that it motivates and resonates with your spirit center. And that's another example, that word resonate, that resonates with me. Resonate is a sound term. We talk about it. So,
do you think that your friend would be willing to do a session on the vibrations and things that you were talking about?
Oh yeah. He would love to. And he would get in, he'd probably get more into the healing aspects of it, as opposed to just the meditation. But yeah, he would love to. And I have another friend that's writing a book on chakras, and he does professional development up at Kennesaw State. I bet I could convince him to. He's done workshops up there on chakras. I bet he would be happy to do something with us on that.
Yeah, well, put it on the list.
Oh yeah, we've got some good ideas.
Yeah, I would like for us to be able to kind of start alternating as we see how things go in person with the virtual, because people are getting back out now. And hopefully whatever this new wave is in China stays in China, so that we can have a session where we're able to experience some of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and there's a lot of I'm very grateful for Zoom during this time, but there is definitely something about being in person, and not only just in the social aspect of it, but in the breath work workshops that Plumman used to do in the before 4 times. A lot of it is about being present with people. And I'll just say, as a Christian, that Christ says that when 3 or more are gathered in my name, I will be present. So there's this recognition of a social dynamic bringing a different wellness energy to your life in the Gospels and in plenty of other traditions too. And I don't mean to get too religious, because that's not what this is about, but I think that's, undeniable. I would definitely support that. And if everyone's, if we can start to transition, and even if it's for a little while, I think we're kind of getting in that endemic phase where there's going to be times where we've got to go and shut the doors and close up. And there's going to be times where we can be, when we can be more social, and we need to take advantage of those times that we can be more social.
I saw that Candace put in the chat about having a session at the retreat. So I would, Candace, definitely support if there's a way to integrate that as one of our wellness activities as part of the retreat.
Yeah, I'd be happy to lead that, and I can bring my bowl up. And it's also, there's more. So the idea of sound bath encompasses more than just those bowls. There's a lot of different instruments that have been shown to be effective in
there was a gong
meditation.
That she had. I don't remember what else. Candace may remember.
And there's actually, so the woman Denise, who did the sound bath concerts with Plumman's breathwork workshops, she actually has she and another guy have a band, a meditation sound band called Sound Whisperer. And they'll do little events where you come in and meditate, and they play meditative music sounds with all kinds of instruments, sound bowls, and even guitar, but it's done in a more thoughtful, meditative way to help you with your focus. And I'll send out, with the resources that I'll send out, I'll include a link to Denise's page, because she has resumed doing in-person concerts and events with her sound bath, and she'll do the sound bowl concert in there's a area in the south part of the city that has the pink Himalayan salt caves. So you go into the salt cave, and she'll do the sound bowls down there. I haven't done that yet. I'm still too scared, but I want to. I'd love to go down there and do it. But she's safe. There's limited people and everything. But Denise is really cool. She was a business consultant for a while, and then decided to go into more healing. And so she has a whole practice now where she does she does Reiki healing and a lot of sound bowl stuff. And
great. It's great information. It's always helpful to find new and different ways and be exposed to things that we can concentrate on and give us some relief.
I'm so grateful for this group. Being an attorney, a partner I'm working with at my firm reminded me that, attorneys perform in a different way, and I would argue at a different level than any other profession. The demands upon us are unlike any other job, especially mental, and the amount and the kinds and levels of energy we're expected to perform and share and put into our work is like any other job. And we need tools like this, everything. But that Huberman podcast I mentioned is really good. He has one on workplace, setting up your workplace to basically set up your neurological system for success. So it involves things like making sure that in the mornings you have a really bright environment, and like doing what I'm not doing now, but you want to have your laptop up at least eye level or above, because when you're looking up or at least at eye level, that's what actually stimulates your neurological system to be more focused and aware. Whereas if you're looking down, it kind of depresses, it lowers it. So I've done that. I did that recently at work. I raised my monitor up and started using bright lights. I used to work in a cave. And I have noticed a difference. It is easier to stay focused now. That stuff. Anyway.
Hey, Adam.
Yeah.
This has been so good. I was having one of those mental days where I just needed to rest. So I'm not fit for camera, but I've learned so much from you, and definitely want to talk offline about planning a session around your, not just your work, but everything you mentioned for the retreat. Because I think that it was going to be powerful, just having some like offline sessions that people can self-select in. I just definitely want to chat more with you, and
Awesome.
hopefully partner in May so that we can do something during Wellness Week. We usually have the CLE during that week. But we can just talk offline. We hadn't met, but I just wanted to say that I just learned so much, and just being right here for like 30 minutes has helped my mind just calm down from the day I've had. And
good.
I just appreciate all the information.
God bless you. Like I said, this is a hard job, and
yeah,
I'm glad you could join us. I'm glad you got something out of it.
Definitely. Thank you. And we'll talk.
Okay, good. Good.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. We do this work because you never know who needs it. You know what I mean? And just reaching that one, and that two, whoever, you just don't know who needed it. And so we just going to keep doing it. So I really appreciate you taking on this major effort. And it's helped me today, and I've learned something that I didn't know I was coming in to learn. So
well, good.
And
I mean, I've it comes from my struggles, and trying to find stuff that helps me, and you got to find what works for you,
Yeah. Yeah, and hate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And like I mentioned, I know they're recording this, so maybe somebody will come in and watch it and get something out of it too. So, well, thanks for coming, y'all.
Okay, thanks, Adam.
No problem. Thank you.
And thanks, Jada, for setting this all up and all your good work.
And working late.
Yeah, and working late.
No problem. No problem.
So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thanks for joining.